Hi again, everybody. Welcome to another edition. This week's episode number 91 of the Lab FC Mini Podcast. Great to have everybody in listening and watching on the YouTube side, the Lab FC Mini Podcast YouTube page, and of course on Apple, Google, Spotify, Pandora, etc. Listening on the audio side. Let's get right into this. Our topic today, 2022 hitting trends. Last week, I couldn't seem to pinpoint 2022. I said 2021 and I said 2001, but I didn't say 2022. So it's 2022 hitting trends, our main topic today. Let me bring in professional evaluator, successful business owner, former coach, friend, co-host, Jake Epstein. Hello, amigo.
Hey.
So I promised that...
That's like Stoney from, what's his name in Major League, where he said, he's not the best color man in the business for nothing.
Oh, Bob Uecker.
Yeah, what is his sidekick's name, though?
That's the guy. I'm not sure.
I don't
You're not
remember.
supposed to remember the sidekick's name because you don't call him the best color commentator.
That's right.
So you mentioned before we got started that the lockout is now over, and I promise this will be the last time we talk about it. And if you don't mind, I just want to quickly make a couple of points here, and then I'll let you say what you need to. I was thinking about this yesterday when it was signed, and I hold firm to the belief that what I said a couple of weeks ago about the owners being great businessmen. They wouldn't be billionaires and they wouldn't own professional sports teams if they weren't great businessmen and they weren't great negotiators. I have a theory here, Jimmy conspiracy theorist for a second, if I may. I believe that the owners, when they gave the players an ultimatum and told them, take it or leave it with the deal that they offered, I think they knew that there was more money coming and financial flexibility and more opportunities to negotiate and give the players more of what they wanted was coming the very next week. I think they believed when we went into that quote unquote deadlock or whatever it was, whatever the media called it. I think the owners believed that they would sign when they did. They wouldn't miss any games, albeit they would have to play some double headers towards the end of the year, but they weren't going to miss any games. And I say that because Major League Baseball this week signed a deal with Apple to stream games for a lot of money. That's a pretty ironclad, solid deal and a lot of money. I also think, too, and to me, this is why it's not really a conspiracy theory. I also believe that the reason they put out there that international draft thing and everybody made a huge deal about it when it really shouldn't have been, and it wasn't a week ago, and Max Scherzer basically came out and tweeted about that, was because they just wanted to make sure all the I's or all the dots on the I's were dotted. And however that stupid saying goes. Nevertheless, that's my belief. Call me conspiracy theorist, that's okay. But I do believe that that's kind of what went on. And we kind of knew once that talk of the streaming from Apple and now Peacock was probably going to happen and the contract was signed, okay, let's get this thing done.
There's so much money, and you hit the nail on the head with the fact that they're businessmen.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they own teams. And then you have the silent owners, the ones you don't hear about in the press. You know, I mean, we can use Colorado as an example with the Monforts, where, you know, they get their revenue sharing and they get their money and they get, 80% capacity at the ballpark and they make, $80 million a year, and they don't have to put a great, team on the field. They don't have to go out and spend a whole lot because they'll be 500. And that's what they do. They're making money. You need somebody, honestly, like Steve Cohen. He wants to win. He's a fan. He's got money. He doesn't care if he burns it. He wants to win. And you have so many different levels of ownership in Major League Baseball, but people aren't successful in business without being smart,
Shrewd.
Without doing research, without surrounding themselves with smart people and being cutthroat negotiators. And that was going to be very hard going up against, 26 or how many teams do we have now? I don't know how many teams we have. It's probably a bad number I just threw out, but
30.
Regardless, like you have like really, you have really smart people with really smart lawyers, and then you have the union, and then they have smart lawyers too. Don't get me wrong, but they're also players, that are trying to represent themselves along with them.
But there's also a reason that the players finally came around to the business dealings of owners when it came as it pertains to the CBA, and they probably were CBA too late when they finally realized, hey, we're getting beat here. That's what I mean about being shrewd businessmen.
Yeah.
And negotiators.
Yeah. And they knew that, everybody looks at the players. Oh, these guys make so much money and this and that, and they're so selfish. And there's so much more to that. Like they're not trying to help themselves. They're trying to help the younger generation of players that are coming up. Mm-hmm. The ones that are there already, and the guys that, the Max Scherzers, the guys that have been in the league for 10 years, but they're fine. They're trying to stick up for the young players that are getting sent up and down all the time and not logging enough games to be considered, their rookie year, and therefore the teams can control them longer. And I don't know, it's a business, and I get it. It's just a shame that people usually frown on the players, a lot of the time on this, and it's both sides. It's not just the players. Not everybody in the game makes, millions and millions of dollars.
One of the things that was in there, a couple of rule changes, and thank God they're going away from the 7-inning doubleheaders. Thank God there's no more runner at second base in extra innings.
Yeah.
For that at the minor league level, not for it at the major league level. So it seems like we're going back to just playing baseball again, although I'm not a big fan either of the bases being bigger or possibly being bigger.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that's definite.
DH passed though, right?
I'm not sure if that's definite. I'm okay with the DH. I'm not okay with the bases being bigger if that does indeed pass. But the one thing that is, I'm surprised that the bigger bases, by the way, is not getting more of a contentious reaction from people. But the one thing that is people are glossing over, and I can't believe it. It's the shift. Think about, I don't know. Again, I'm not sure if it's now completely banned or what the case may be. But I'm going to ask you this question straight out. I should have done more preparation. But I'm going to ask you this question straight out about the shift. If it is indeed banned, or when it does get banned, and players have come out, hitters, a lot of them have come out and complained about the shift. Pitchers on the other side, they don't want to ban the shift. So I'm just going to ask you, how do hitters beat the shift? Let's finally put this to bed. Let's just solve this problem for everybody. How do they go about beating the shift? Major league, minor league hitters, how do they do it?
Well, you have to have bat control. It's not as easy as it sounds. If I'm a left-handed hitter and I have a second baseman in shallow right field, and I have a shortstop on the second baseman side of the field, a lot of people say, oh, it's easy. I'm just going to try to shoot something the other way. The ball's moving 95 miles an hour or more, and they're not going to throw you a pitch middle away so you can just easily shoot a ball to the other way. Right. It's not as easy as it sounds. We can't just slap it. Maybe we can bunt. Maybe we can do that once in a while, and then you got to figure out, does that bunt help? Does that, because guys bunted last year, to try to help with it. Or do I take my chances and try to hit the ball in the air over the shift 1 out of every 14 or 15 times I'm up at the plate? And maybe that scores 2 or 3 runs, and maybe every third game, my contribution beats your team. So there's so many levels to beating the shift. There's, okay, I don't care. I'm just going to hit the ball in the air to the pull side. The other is I'm going to try to go the other way to do it. So what would be a neat study, and I don't know when this will occur, but would be, okay, we're going to try to beat the shift, as an offensive coordinator, if you will, whether it's the manager or the hitting coach, their game plan is, we're going to beat the shift. So wherever they're not standing, we're going to try to hit the ball there, and we're going to give it 25 games. And we're going to see if that was beneficial or not. I don't think it would be beneficial. I really don't. I think.
And why do you say that? Is it because you're taking hitters out of their element, guys who might have power to the pull side, like a Gallo, for example, who was very vocal about it.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing. You're taking a guy that could hit a 2-run or 3-run home run, and you're forcing him to hit a ball on the ground the other way for a single. And then the next guy up, are they going to shift on him or not shift on him? Well, if they don't shift on him, you might as well walk. Might as well have a good at bat and walk. So, but do they shift with everyone, and does everyone take that same approach? Again, it would be a really cool senior thesis paper.
Yeah, I agree with you there, but you talked about the first thing you said there was barrel control. The guys who have the barrel control, just guys off the top of my head, Correa, Bo, Bichette, Vlad
Mhm.
Jr., Freddie Freeman, guys we talked about during the Mechanical Breakdown series, even a Chris Bryant, for example, our free agent edition, by the
Mhm.
way. Go back in the archives and listen,
Yep.
audio and on the YouTube side. Um, they all have barrel control. They don't struggle as much with the shift as, say, a guy with a lot of power, a Luke Voigt. I mean, Aaron Judge has great barrel control too. He doesn't really struggle much with the shift. But a Luke Voigt, for example, a Joey Gallo, those guys, they struggle against the shift because they don't have the barrel control. So
Yeah. Or the approach.
I'm not
I mean,
sure
I
what kind
think,
of thesis or what kind of paper or not even a study, what kind of game plan you could come up with that could try and beat the shift, because you have guys in the lineup that could, because they have a different skill than a power guy, is what I'm trying to say.
and yeah, and you see the shift more predominantly with left-handed hitters. I mean, you do see it with right-handers too, but the really big shifts, where they have a ton of guys on the pull side, a lot of times it's because of a left-handed hitter, because you can throw somebody out from right center field, but you can't throw somebody out from left center field. If they're a right-handed batter, that's pulling the ball. Nobody's going to, having a shortstop in left center and having a second baseman over in the shortstop area, that doesn't do anybody any good. So you see it, with more somebody like Votto, but Votto has the mechanics and the swing. I mean, I didn't see a lot of him last year after he got traded, but I have swings of Votto that they're beautiful. Like they
Right.
really
Well, we
are.
talked about him last week, if you remember, and
Yeah,
in episode 90, we discussed his swing and what he did early in his career and what he's doing now,
what he's
or
doing
not so
now.
much of.
Yeah, and he has the ability. Like if you said, "Hey, we're going to take BP. I want you to hit a line drive over the
Mhm.
shortstop's head. The next 5 pitches." I guarantee you, he could do it. He has
Yeah.
that ability. He's a big leaguer, and I know those mechanics are in there. So it's down to approach. It's down to vision too. It's about how we see things, and I don't know what Votto's vision is like. Some people have extremely 2010 vision, 2012 vision, and some guys don't.
Mhm.
And the guys that don't have to cheat a little bit more, and he may be one of those guys, and that's okay, because with bad vision, he's in the big leagues and he's making a lot of money and he's helping his team.
So I looked him up this week because I was doing some post-production stuff for the show, and he's 37 years old. He looks pretty good for his age.
Votto's,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I wasn't thinking Votto.
Well, you
I was
said
thinking Joey. I was thinking Joey Gallo. I
oh,
was all
Callow.
confused.
Callow.
Jerry Gallo.
You were if there's ever a time,
Yeah, so we talked about Votto last week.
we
Yeah,
did.
different stuff.
Go
Yeah,
back in the
Votto
archives.
definitely has good control over his bat. I would definitely agree with that, and I think Gallo actually has better bat control than he shows.
And thinks, because apparently he thinks he can't beat the shift.
Yeah, he does.
I've never been a big Joey Gallo guy, to be honest with you. If you ask me,
Yeah,
I'm not a big Joey Gallo guy. Never have.
yeah, yeah.
I don't care. That
I'm sorry,
all
that's what I was
500
thinking
feet.
of. I have my apparently my Italian guys mixed up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
Votto looks great for his age.
My old roommate Mike Rollo
Yeah.
would not appreciate me mixing up my Italian American baseball
You're
players.
talking to somebody who's Italian right now, too.
I know.
Now you got all these Italian grease balls in your head.
All my best friends in the world are Italian. Always have been.
You get along
Since I
well
was
with
a kid.
You get along well with Italians, apparently.
I do.
Wonder why that is.
I don't know.
What's your astrological sign?
the Mediterranean in me.
Yeah. Speaking of looking good, I look pretty good for my age. You look great for your age. This lighting, though, I don't. You've been busting my balls for 2 weeks about this lighting. I don't like how the lighting looks tonight. Quite frankly, I don't like.
It looks like the Tampa Police Department is interviewing you.
I'm glowing. I don't want to glow.
Yeah.
We have to figure this out.
Yeah.
Very soon.
You need some rope lighting,
because I look like I'm white as a ghost, and I'm not. I'm actually pretty tan.
Yeah.
But the light is making me. I had to move it around. Trying to make
It's okay.
trying to make a makeshift set for our weekly podcast. Be sure to email us, jimbopodcast21gmail.com. Subscribe to the show, the Live Epstein Hitting Podcast YouTube page, and Apple, Google, Spotify, etc.
Hey, check this thing out.
Follow us on social media at Jim Tara, at Epstein Hitting on wherever. Go ahead. I'm
going to plug this guy because he's a really nice guy, and I actually like this little product he sent me.
Yeah.
It's called the Rip Grip Pro.
What's that now? Is that golf?
No. So it it loosens your top hand up. So many players, like they wrap their top hand. So this thing goes on your fingers.
Younger players do it.
Kind of like this. Yeah, a lot of players. And so when you hold it, you can't, really wrap your top hand. This guy right here kind of rests against the bat, and it gives you a very loose top hand.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been trying it out with a lot of players this week, but I just wanted to share that with you. I like it. If I was a player, an older player, I would have really liked that. Younger players we're testing now to see, but I'll give you an update on this in 2 to 4 weeks and see how it does. Many big leaguers use the thumb guard, right? They use the pro hitter on their thumb. I mean, I don't know, 80% of major leaguers probably, maybe not that many, 70%.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it was something that I love to use because it took my top hand from strangling the bat and allowed me to release it a little bit more. And, I'm a big guy for barrel release, teaching that, out in front and maximizing our barrel speed. So anything I can use in order to help players with that, we're going to try. So we're going to try this thing. I'll get back to everyone in a few weeks and let you know how it goes. So now that we're totally off topic.
Is that guy paying you or?
No, he just, one of my guys went to the ABCA and brought one back. And he's like, hey, check this out. And I was like, well, I kind of like this. And so I contacted the guy and was like, hey, man, what do you got going on? Do you have kid-sized, adult-sized? He was like, oh, I'll send you a couple. Try it out. So we're in the trying out stage.
And so so he didn't pay you for this free sponsor?
No. There's no paid endorsement. No, there's no pay. I mean, I could tell everyone that it's terrible in 2 weeks, but I won't because deep down, I think I like it.
So we're not getting any cut for.
We're not getting anything.
This show is broadcast in all these countries and YouTube, and he's not okay. All right.
Yeah. You know what? I hope this guy's listening, but I just got a new.
I hope so too. Member. Tell him I want him to send me one. I want to try it. I never had that wrist problem though. That's the thing. I never had that issue. So never wrapped.
The kids that choke it. Yeah, I had my first online member, and I have many from all over the world, but my first one from Slovenia.
Oh,
signed up last night. Yeah,
I'm
all excited.
I don't know if we have any Slovenia listeners. I'll have to check. And if that person is listening, write us in jimbopodcast21@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Last
Slovenia,
week,
beautiful country, by the way. It's like I think it's just east of like Italy and Croatia, kind of in there.
Mm-hmm.
So nice, beautiful. I want to go there.
Last week we talked about spring training, a proper spring training approach. That was episode 90. Go back in the archives, listen to it, watch it on YouTube. Now with players who are finally they were locked out, and now they're let back in. The question I have for you, last week we touched on spring training approach at bats, etc. What's this hitting schedule look like now for players in trying to? Last week you reiterated see pitches. What's the schedule though like now in hitting those certain checkpoints, which we also talked about last week in spring training, with it being shortened? Not sure how many games are actually going to be played. But with spring training being shortened about 3 weeks, opening day, April 6th and 7th, how did hitters get into a regimen and an actual schedule to get them ready for the season?
See pitches. It's still the same. So, they've been hitting. They've been hitting every day for the last, month. So they feel like they're in a pretty good spot. They're probably facing velo off machines, which isn't, the same as a game, but at least they're seeing something fast, come at them. So, yeah, the big thing is they're going to jump right into games.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're jumping into games in 3 or 4 days, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not taking long for them to jumpstart into spring training. I would say if there were concerns with spring training, it'd be more on the pitching side.
Right.
Getting guys amped up to be able to throw seven innings, 7 or 8 innings, even though pitchers typically don't throw that many innings anymore. But that would be the big concern, is getting those guys game ready in 3 weeks, because they're probably only going to have maybe 4 or 5 outings, throwing 2 or 3 innings each during that time. So I think we're going to see the beginning of the season, where pitchers just aren't going quite as long starting pitching until we probably hit late April or so. But I think from a hitter standpoint, maybe we're a little bit behind, but I really don't think. I still think we're going to get 3 weeks. We're going to get, I don't know, how many games are we going to get? 20 to 18. We're still going to get, hopefully we get close to 40 or 50 at bats.
Right. If you're a veteran.
Which isn't
right.
Yeah, which isn't a ton. It's going to be tougher for the young guys. So the guys that are trying to make a team, those guys, the fourth outfielder guys, it's going to be a little bit tougher. There's a lot more stress and pressure on those guys to perform right away.
All right, well, let's get into today's topic, episode 91, talking about 2022 hitting trends. And there's a lot out there. I don't think the fundamentals have changed that make you successful in the last 50 years or so, but the trends are still there with launch angle, exit velocity, some other analytical statistics as it pertains to those hitting trends. What do you see just overall? Give a broad scope, paint a broad picture here. What do you see as some of the top 2022 trends as it pertains to hitting that you like and some that you dislike? I have a couple that I kind of see on Twitter and whatnot that I dislike, but I'll let you start.
Yeah, and I'm not sure it's much different than, last year. I'm trying to think of any new stuff the past couple months that I've seen. Nothing drastic. I think hitting is the cool part about what I do is I get to talk to people at every single level. So I get to talk to big league hitting coaches. I get to talk to minor league hitting coaches. I get to talk to college hitting coaches. I get to talk to high school hitting coaches. I get to talk to amateur hitting coaches. And I will say that the upper levels, even in some of the big high school programs, they don't want guys trying to launch balls over the fence. Mm-hmm. They're not trying to hit balls deep in the zone. They're not trying to get on plane really, really early. At the high school level, high school coaches want guys to, they want guys to make solid contact. Mm-hmm. That sort of thing. Whether good or bad, they want guys to get on base. You go to the college level, they still want guys to bunt. They want guys. Mm-hmm. They want to put pressure on defense at the college level and hope to, get 4 or 5 outs an inning. At the big league level, you're obviously not going to get extra outs, every inning. But you also, I'm seeing those coaches talk more about, getting the barrel out in front more. And if we dump it early, we're not going to be able to get it out in front. Or if we drop the barrel, we're not going to be able to catch up to high pitches. So at the higher levels, I guess the best way to put this is what I see with social media and teaching amateurs, we'll say 15, 16 years, isn't matching what college and baseball wants. And maybe, I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means, hey, these kids are being taught maybe some extreme moves, with the trying to create more torque, some of those drills where they start wide open and then they snap their elbow in their hand. Maybe that leads to something great at the college level or the professional level, but it doesn't seem to kind of match up with what I'm seeing. And that's tough. Like, hitters are going to hit. So if you're, I've seen hitters, we'll say at the college level. So I've seen college, and in fact, I can go to college softball. So there's a very prominent.
Let me ask you a question really quick, and then I'll let you get that point out. The Yankees, quick story. When I don't know how many years ago this was, I had somebody in the organization from a long time ago, no longer in the organization. In fact, no longer with us on Earth, passed away a couple of years ago. He said that what the Yankees would do once you get drafted and you sign, you go into their player development system. You get 30 days to keep doing what you're doing and prove to them and the higher ups in the organization that you know what you're doing and that what you're doing is working. And then they change you and they want you to play Yankees baseball. So what you're alluding to, it seems like, from high school and players making that big jump to college coaches, and now, of course, player development systems across baseball as well, if you're drafted out of high school, they want you integrated right away into what they feel is the type of swing you should have, right?
Yeah. And the Yankees, that's, a lot of clubs never did that.
Right.
They didn't give you 30 days. And that's tough because then it's like, well, we'll let you do what you want to do. But in the end, we're going to teach you to do something different. It's very different than it was 10 or 15 years ago. I remember players that I would work with, we're talking probably in the 2000s, 2010 at the most, that would have to hide sometimes from coaches in spring training, like after lunch, that wanted to go do some crazy drills, where they were chopping straight down or hitting off a soft front leg, front knee that was bent. And they would just kind of try to disappear so they didn't have to go do that extra work, after lunch if they didn't have a game in the afternoon. It's much different now. Hitting is, guys are good. Hitting coaches they really are. Like, minor league hitting coaches got a bad rap probably when I was before video, before there was stuff. They were just kind of going off of cues that they had heard. But now they look at video and they study and they see that, okay, you can't swing down too much, you can't swing up too much. Like, what's the best process for doing that? So I don't think players that are leaving college and entering that environment are running into issues.
Right.
But yeah, so getting back to kind of what you were saying and what I was leading to, players sometimes don't know what they do. So this college that's top 10, I think right now, maybe top 12 ranked team in the country. They have more of a hitting philosophy of dropping the barrel, turning the barrel a little bit more, right? So I've seen it on social media. I've seen them doing some drills. And then I watch them in games, these athletes that have not done those moves for the last, 15 years of their life. And I look at their swings, I'm like, they're not doing that at all. And they look great. Mm-hmm. So sometimes players don't really know exactly what they're doing. They can hit like they hit when they were 12, they hit when they were 14, they hit when they were 18, they're going to hit when they're 21. That's just the way it is. I don't care what you tell them to do. If they're elite athletes and you're recruiting them and they're going to be in your starting lineup, they probably have the right moves. And trying to change them is sometimes, a little bit counterproductive. So, those hitting trends that I see, things that I don't see anymore would be the wide base, no stride, the 2-strike approach where, hey, we're not going to step anymore. That was prevalent the last couple of years. I'm not seeing that as much. I'm still seeing people doing weird
step
things
in the
with
bucket,
their hands,
right?
Hands and elbows. What's that?
Stepping in the bucket, stepping in the bucket. You gotta learn how to enunciate.
Well, yeah, I mean that's just bad. So that's typically someone that has some kind of deep-rooted fear of getting hit. And they'll kind of
don't tell that to Dustin Pedroia though.
What's that?
Don't tell that to Dustin Pedroia.
Don't tell, but at least Pedroia knew he did it, and he got so close to the plate that it didn't matter. Or Chris Davis does the same thing, right? Chris Davis said, I don't know where he went, but
also in our archives, we did a mechanical breakdown series on him.
That Chris Davis with a K. Was he the Rangers or something?
He does step in the bucket a little bit.
Huge. Yeah, he does. But he's that close to the plate. He lets the ball travel enough, and he's strong enough to do it. So, yeah, I will say so far this year in the 3 months that we've been going, I don't say anything drastically different than the crazy stuff that I have seen the past 3 years.
And what kind of crazy stuff have you seen that you?
Well, the stuff where we're just pretty much loading everything into our right side. Yeah. Into our right hip, into our right scapula, into our right elbow, into our right hand. and just turning and snapping or twisting or whatever word you want to use for it.
What's that game? What was that game? Not Twister.
Twister was a game.
It was a game, but it was had a voice to it. It was like pull it, and they would go. It was popular when I was a kid. I used to play. Yeah, pull it, and then you tap it, and then you twist it, and you know what I'm talking.
Yeah.
Write us in jimbopodcast21@gmail.com.
Yeah, we know JJ.
It's the lighting that's really fucking me up.
Because JJ keeps us on our toes.
Yeah, he would probably know.
And we need to know that for sure, JJ. Right. If you're listening, make sure you figure that one out. But yeah, I mean that's kind of the big stuff that I'm seeing, and I still see some of the defensive stuff, in college, guys getting real wide with 2 strikes and putting balls in play. I feel like the game is so spread out, at the young age, people are just trying to hit jacks all the time because, they're big kids. If you're playing majors and you're a big 12-year-old or 13-year-old and the fence isn't that big, you can just hit tanks all the time. And then all of a sudden you get to like a 60, 90 field, and those tanks are all fly balls that are 260 feet to the outfielders or 300 feet to the outfielders. So, we have to make sure we're preparing for a future. That's stronger. If you look at his hit tracks data, he's in like the top 90% of players his age and how hard and how far he hits it, right? So, yeah, that's great. The fence right now is
I'm sorry, who's this now? I missed it.
30 feet. Player that I worked with today.
Okay.
Michael Branham, good kid, Colorado. Okay. And he hits it good. And we're working on timing because he gets a little jumpy, and we're working on being slower and more control because I'm preparing him for when he plays in high school. Mm-hmm. Like I know he could go out right now and overmatch the field because he's stronger than most of the players at his age. And he knows, and his dad's like, yeah, man, this is great right now. I hope he hits home runs when we go to, Cooperstown, where the fences are 200 feet and everybody has a good time. But, we're not preparing for that. We have to prepare his swing plan, his ability to make adjustments, his ability to time different pitches and different deliveries. We need to prepare him for that. So that's my job as a coach is, I want you to do well when you're 10 or 12 or 13, but I really want you to do well when you're 16 or 18 or 20.
Right. Mentally.
And in order to do that, getting back to our topic, in order to do that, you pretty much have to do the same thing that they've been doing since Shoeless Joe was hitting.
Right.
And maybe there's another way to do it. Like if you could find another way to swing the bat super fast, instead of major league average 78 to 82 mile an hour bat speed, all of a sudden you can swing at 110.
Yeah.
Okay, that will make a drastic difference. It's kind of like what pitchers have done, right? Pitchers have found a way to make a ball spin differently.
Yeah.
By placing more pressure, but pitching is
more substances,
or substances make a huge deal, right? But pitchers are bringing it. Hitters, we're defensive. We're in a defensive position. We're a goalie, and they're hitting slap shots at us.
Yeah.
So we don't have the ability to tweak and to tinker and to make things. So we have to do what's most consistent, and that's been the test of time. Like we have to get our barrel in this zone. And we have to try to stay in this zone with this pitch that's moving and breaking on these axes as long as we can. And there's certain things you have to do with your body, which is kind of the Epstein, if you will, quote, core mechanics. Like that's the basics, the basis of everything that I teach players, whether they're 7 years old. We have some players in the online academy that are 7, or whether they're 27. Like you need to fit in this mold. And that mold, like I said, you could look at videos of Shoeless Joe or Ty Cobb, obviously, Ruth and Gehrig and all those guys too. But there's certain things that they all do, and that's what Ted Williams said they do. And my dad, they do 3 things. They from launch through extension, man. That's where we got to match up. So until somebody can find a way to snap their body or their wrists or their hands or their elbows or their hips or whatever to make the barrel move 110 miles an hour, and instead of getting to contact in 0.15 seconds, which is major league average, they can get to contact in 0.10 seconds, then you could change the game. But until that happens, I don't think there's a need to make a wholesale change on what big league players do.
Right. And people forget that big league bat speed is 77, still, even to this day, 77
82,
to 82 miles per hour.
And there are guys that have more than that. Bryce Harper has 90 plus mile an hour bat speed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's a rarity, though. Albert Pujols, you once said, at his peak had a 77 mile per hour bat speed.
I think he was 80. Yeah. I think he was right in the middle, average bat speed.
Yeah. What about mentally? What do you see 2022 hitting trends? Where do you see it going mentally, approach wise for people? You know, we talked earlier in the show about trying to beat the shift, but approach wise.
Yeah, I think, and I like this, and I hear some people, I definitely hear big league coaches talking about it, but I have to share this actually. Mm-hmm. So I heard from my cousin Sawyer, who plays at Harvard, right? They're playing at San Luis Obispo tonight, and or whatever night this is. They played him on Friday night.
Yeah.
The 11th. They played him on Friday night. And the pitcher they were going against is he's awesome. Whoever this pitcher, their Friday night starter for Cal Poly, is a stud, and he's got like a 70 rated changeup. And he strikes out. Every game he's pitched, he struck out double digits, guys, right? So his dad asked Sawyer, again, Harvard, right? And I've had a lot of hitting talks with Sawyer. His dad says, so are you going to sit on that changeup? And Sawyer says, you're an idiot. Why would I sit on a guy that throws a 70 rated changeup? I got to hope he makes a mistake. I got to sit on a fastball. I have to tunnel that fastball. And hopefully I get one above the knees that I can get a good swing off of. And if I don't, he's probably going to bury that changeup and he's going to get me with two strikes. Yeah. And that's what hitting is. So I think approach is huge. I think I think players are smarter. I think coaches are smarter. I think we have a plan. I remember when my dad wrote the book, The Mental Side of Hitting, it was groundbreaking because people we just go up and hit. We just react. We see a pitch and react. And then when you would hear big leaguers say, oh, yeah, I was late on a fastball, so I was going to look for another fastball. I figured he wasn't going to slow my bat down and throw me a slider. So, and all of a sudden people are like, oh, geez, maybe these guys are actually looking for pitches. You know, maybe they have a plan. And all of a sudden approach is huge, right? What's the plan? What's the approach of this guy? So I think tunneling, I think when the approach right now is when you're ahead in the count. I think Dylan Lawson, the new Yankees hitting coach, look, we're looking to hit hittable pitches hard. Like that's our goal. If we get a hittable pitch, we want to get a swing off that barrels it up and we maximize our exit velo, right? We're trying to hit a pitch hard. So how do we do that? Well, we have to get a hittable pitch. Mm-hmm. And I remember a guy that used to sign all his emails, get a good pitch to hit, and my dad. And that's how he signed. Ever since email came out, mm-hmm. It would be, he'd write an email at the bottom, he'd say, get a good pitch to hit, Mike Epstein. And that's what it's all about. It all starts with getting a good pitch to hit. So tunneling and knowing what that good pitch to hit is it your pitch or is it the pitcher's pitch that he throws most often? So if you're facing Kumar Rocker, who throws hammers all the time, and you're a terrible breaking ball hitter, don't look for the breaking ball. Like you're going to lose. Sit there and sit on that fastball and don't miss it.
What if you don't get a fastball, though?
Then you don't get a fastball. Well, hopefully he can't throw that hammer for 3 straight strikes, or he can't throw it, he can't throw it for 3 strikes. You don't help him out by chasing one. And if he throws it for 3 straight strikes and you take them all, mm-hmm. you tip your cap and say, okay, now I'm going to have to sit on that breaking ball. Yeah. But you want to sit on your best pitch first. Now, hopefully you can hit both. Hey, if I'm looking for a curveball, man, I can hit a curveball. Why? Because my awesome hitting coach told me how to do that. Mm-hmm. Coach Ebb said, hey, man, you got to slow down your rhythm if we're going to look at that. We're going to look for a ball to pop. We're going to do, you're put through those scenarios so that, hey, I'm facing a guy with a good breaking ball. I'm going to have to sit on it. What is the adjustment I make? I know what that adjustment is. I'm sitting in the on deck circle telling myself what that adjustment is. Boom, I get into the batter's box and now I'm ready to go.
Second week in a row, you've mentioned Kumar Rocker. Noticing it.
I know. I feel like he needs some love. I don't even know where he is right now. What's he doing?
I think he might be re-entering the draft.
Yeah,
I think.
But he's not playing college.
No, he was in. I think he might have been in.
Yeah.
Can you say it for me? I can't say it.
Independent. Yeah, I don't know what he's doing. Hopefully he's rehabbing and getting strong, because that guy's really
like
special when he's on.
Do you like him more than Leiter? I'm getting that feel. Okay.
No, I didn't say that. I just said he's very special when he's on.
I didn't say you did. That's why I asked.
And he's a competitor. Like I'd line up behind that guy.
Like him more than Leiter.
No, I don't. I just wish he would throw that 95-mile-an-hour fastball more, so that his breaking ball was, because his breaking ball is off the charts good.
Yeah.
But when you throw your breaking ball 60% of the time, it takes its toll.
So the title of this segment, or this mini segment, could be "Ep is in love with Rocker." Would you be mad if that was the title of it?
That's fine. There's far worse people I could be in love with. Where is this episode gone?
And good question. Where do you see hitting trends in 2022 going? Great segue.
I don't know. I think they're going. I don't know. We'll have to find out. We'll have to revisit this in November after the season and see what the trends. I think that it's getting a little bit back to hitting as we know it. I don't know. Can you say that? I guess it's aligning more with what I've taught and I teach currently. I feel like it's not as abstract as it was a couple years ago, and maybe because MLB Network really puts out pretty good stuff. They break a lot of swings down now. They interview big leaguers. What do you think about? Did you see the stuff with Soto?
No, I saw the stuff with Donaldson though a while back. Okay,
no, it was Soto. I think I put it on my Twitter account, and it was like, so Soto's a guy that guy like tries to hit jacks.
Yeah,
like he swings. He's trying to launch balls, and he swings up a fairly decent amount. Okay, he doesn't have a barrel dump, but his attack angle is more in that 15 plus range, right? He's swinging up more, but he's an incredible athlete, an incredible hitter, right? So he still runs into balls and doesn't hit for, he doesn't, I don't know what he hits, but he probably hits 270, 280, somewhere around there. Okay. But they're showing him and he's taking his knob and hitting the ball in soft toss. Somebody's soft tossing a ball and he's taking his knob straight down to it. And he's closed off and he's trying to swing down in BP. This is like during the season last year. So all of a sudden you see a guy who swings up a decent amount, but now ESP or Major League Baseball Network is doing behind the scenes on what he's working on. And they're like, interesting. Like that's what he's working on. This is what happens during the game. Like that's his routine. Some players you maybe have to work on swinging up, right? Maybe we talked about, what can I think of his name for the Dodgers? We did a review on him.
Oh,
no, the right-hander.
Mookie.
No, the other one.
Oh, Taylor,
Chris Taylor, right?
Still a free agent. No, is he a free agent? No. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I think
he resigned with the Dodgers. Yeah.
You think he resigned with the Dodgers, but I think Taylor was probably a guy that naturally swung down quite a bit. And so, he's trying now to get balls in the air and swing up more, where Soto's probably a guy that swings up naturally too much. So he's trying to go. So everybody is their own person. You have to know what you do. You have to have hopefully a qualified hitting coach or parent that can use video and explain it. And that's why my online academy is so popular, because here it is in video. Like not everybody's the same. Mr. Slovenia is going to come in. I don't know what that swing is going to like. Maybe he's chopped down a ton. And I'm like, okay, here's where you are. Here's where you need to be. You might have to think about swinging up. Maybe he collapses and swings up too much. And I got to say, okay, we need to swing down more. You need to use your bottom hand, whatever it is. Every player is different. Every player has a different feel that works for them. And when you find that as a coach, you have to write it down. You have to put, I always put it on a voiceover. Like, here's your voiceover. This is what we were talking about. This is the words you used to me on what you were feeling. And this is why. Boom. So listen to this video, go write the notes down, stick it on your mirror so you see it every single day when you're doing your hair, putting your contacts in or brushing your teeth, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because your cues and your feels are different than everyone else.
All right, so that wraps up this episode, 2022 Hitting Trends. Next week, we are discussing blocking out distractions on the field and off the field to maximize your success as a hitter.
What about the distraction of the University of Texas bullpen catcher taking a shot from a flash during a game the other night? You see that one?
I didn't. No.
That's a distraction.
He took like an alcohol shot.
Yeah.
Really? Like
a fan gave him a flask and he kind of hunched down, took a rip from it. Yeah, and it got caught on. I'm assuming he's a bullpen catcher, like he's a student manager. He's not a, he's not a.
Well, there's a
player.
lesson in there for everybody.
Oh
cameras
my God!
Cameras in 2022 are always on you, no matter what you're doing.
Always on you.
Phones,
and there's your
everything.
Outside influence. That kid, I mean, even though he was, and maybe he is a roster guy, but even if he's not, he's a student manager. It's the number one team in the country.
Not a good look.
And you're going to get kicked off.
Yeah.
Or you're going to be a cult hero. One of the two.
What would you do if you were his head coach?
I have to get rid of him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what would be the reasoning behind it? He embarrassed the program. He wasn't living up to the standards of what would be the reasoning?
Yeah, expectations. Like you're a Texas Longhorn. You can't, number one, interact with the fans like that, and number two, you can't drink alcohol on premises during a game. Like that's.
Texas is obviously a well-endowed program, but they run things professionally. You know who's I don't know if he's still there, but we'll say for who was, just for context purposes.
Still is.
Okay, he still is. You know who's still there? Tulo.
Yeah. Tulo's still there. Yeah.
That's professional.
Now if Tulo had a rip, it's okay because he's the volunteer assistant.
Right, and he made a lot of money in his career. He couldn't care less if he got fired.
He's giving back. Yeah, that'd be interesting to see where Tulo ends up, though. Like he really wants to be a college coach.
When he was with the Blue Jays, I swear to you, I used to run into his wife and their son, like almost every game. Just randomly walking around. I could be walking and I would just see them. And it got to a point where it became like a hi, hey, and I had to introduce myself because I saw her and the son and somebody else in Tulo's camp literally every time. I literally had to introduce myself. And towards the end, it became, oh, hey, Jim, how's it going? It was I don't want to say bizarre, but it was just all the time I would see the Tulowitzki family.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. He was special. He was a really fun guy to watch for a long time here in Denver. And, I think that, the injuries caught up to him, which was a bummer because he was electric, that guy.
Yeah. And he retired pretty young too, early 30s. Hey, what do you have coming up at the lab? And of course, on the Online Hitting Academy as well.
Yeah. So the Online Hitting Academy is going crazy right now. So jump on board with that. I can probably only handle about 8 more players. It's so busy. So it's kind of a 1 in, 1 out deal just for time commitment. But this is a busy time of year as players are just starting to hit the field. And I love game film because it tells me where their timing is, where their rhythm is, what we need to work on. Is there a mechanical issue? Is it a timing issue? But a lot of times you can't see that when players are just taking batting practice off, dad or a machine or a tee. So, that's pretty crazy. The lab, we're heading down there next week, actually, as a family for spring break. So get to see all the players there, but we're cruising because the high school season's underway there. So getting all those guys in during the week is really important. So for the lab, we're just doing what we do. We're preparing players for competition, which is now, especially in Texas, there's tournaments every weekend. And then we're prepared for our summer training. We're going to switch up our summer camps this year and do more very small group, more advanced training instead instead of your normal summer camp where, hey, let's sign Johnny up, school's out. And there's, 30 other people out there in his group. We're going to do really small groups of 6 players with a professional coach where they're actually going to learn something and get better throughout the course of that 3 or 4 hours each day. So we're really excited for that new model, and we'll get that thing launched this summer.
All righty. Next week, Blocking Out Distractions, episode 92. Thank you for listening, watching on the YouTube side. Email us jimbopodcast21@gmail.com and follow us on social media. What do you have to lose? I don't even post that much on social media. So.
But when you do, it's magic.
Right. Yeah. So what do you have to lose? Okay. See you later, everybody. We will talk to you next week. Thank you very much for watching and listening. See you next week.